Good morning, everyone, and welcome to County Executive Pittman's virtual press conference. This morning, the County Executive will provide updates on the county's economic, health, and workforce development, among other items. We'll take questions after those updates. As a reminder, please put your name and media affiliation in the chat, and I'll call on folks for questions in that order. Also, please keep your microphone and camera off unless you're called upon to ask a question. With that, Mr. County Executive.
All right, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, everybody, for joining us. I feel as though we can't talk about anything that's going on locally before we acknowledge what's going on in Ukraine today and over the previous few days. And I'm going to actually read a statement that I put out, I think, yesterday. So I and most residents of Arundel County, most citizens of the United States of America, everyday people all across our planet are outraged and saddened by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We want to help. We want to stop Vladimir Putin in his tracks. In Anne Arundel County, we're proud to be home to a large part of the defense of the other front in Putin's war. Thousands of our residents are defending our country's infrastructure and our institutions at Fort Meade, where much of the country's cybersecurity forces are stationed. Putin recently invaded a peace-seeking neighbor with tanks and bombers, but his digital warriors have been working to weaken American institutions for years through both propaganda and direct attacks. I want to thank the men and women working at Fort Meade, at U.S. Cyber Command, at National Security Agency, at Defense Information Systems Agency, and all the supporting businesses and agencies assisting with the defense right here in our county. Russian social media trolls are hard at work trying to weaken our resolve to defend our institutions. They drive wedges where they see cracks. They support politicians who fan their flames. Please do our soldiers a favor. Don't spread their propaganda. Don't let them dismantle our democracy. Speak up for Ukraine. Speak up for U.S. defense. Speak up for the public institutions that we, the people, created, even when they're not yet perfect. And most importantly, be kind to your neighbors here at home, all your neighbors, because that's what holds us together. And as we look at what is happening in Ukraine and what Russia has been doing, we do worry about and think about our future economic health. And here in our county and across the country. And I want to comment on that and then talk about an agency within county government that is on the front lines doing the good work and some evidence that we have that that agency, Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation, is actually doing that work extremely effectively. So in Anne Arundel County, we are resilient. Our pandemic recovery has been faster than the state as a whole, and we have economic drivers that we must support. County Council passed our incentive program for data center construction at last week's meeting. Our Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation transformed itself from a lending and technical assistance operation to also a grant-making organization and delivered support to the sectors that needed it when they needed it. Our filings for unemployment were 10% of the state's filings early in the pandemic, but they dropped to closer to 6% when the recovery began. 10% is our share of the state's population. Our Office of Emergency Management has guided our interdepartmental recovery work and is preparing us for future economic downturns. We are aware that times could get worse, so we have increased our financial cushion. Our county's revenue reserve fund and overall fiscal condition are stronger than ever in our history. And while the state's unemployment rate stands at 5%, ours in Anne Arundel County is 3.3%. At the end of 2021, we had 21,243 more people working than we had a year before. That's a 9% increase in our workforce. All of our local businesses, our residents, and our county government have played a role in this success, but one agency has been on the front lines, connecting our people and our businesses every day, and that is Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation. So I have with me here the director of that agency, Kirkland Murray, as well as some of the board members, Tom Ford, the board chair, who's the CFO of PCF, Dr. Tanya Miller from Anne Arundel Community College, and Trish Baldwin of Reliable Contracting. I believe you can see them on your screens, I hope. But I want to just quickly tell you something about what Kirkland is going to run us through. He's going to have some slides about this. But Workforce Development did an assessment of their work with the Business, Economic, and Community Outreach Network called Beacon at Franklin Purdue School of Business at Salisbury University to study the impact and the return on the investment that we make in our Workforce Development Corporation services. And what they found was a 42% reduction in reliance on public assistance. That is 75% better than the national average. A 21% quality of life improvements. That's 20% higher than the national average. A 63% increase in job placements. That is 30% higher than the national average. A 19% boost in lifelong earnings. That is 2% higher than the national average, and a 67% reduction in unemployment insurance claims attributable to participants. That's 40% higher than the national average. A 2.7-year reduction to reach peak employment, likely comparable or slightly higher than the national average. And they say that workforce development is within 9% of reaching perfect effectiveness. Kirkland can tell you what that is. But every dollar invested in workforce development provides a return on investment to county residents of $8.90. So I think it's very important that we assess the effectiveness of all of our departments and agencies, and I want to commend workforce development for bringing in an outside team to take a look at what they do. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Kirkland.
Thank you, Mr. County Exec, and good morning, everyone. As the County Exec said, I'm Kirkland Murray, President and CEO of Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation. I'm honored to be here today and glad that several of our corporate board members who kind of lead and guide the direction of workforce development services here in Anne Arundel County. So Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation, we are a nonprofit organization as part of county government. And our mission states that we want to enhance the economic vitality of Anne Arundel County by developing and implementing innovative workforce development services. And the report that the county exec is referring to from the Beacon Institute actually shows that. It actually proves that we're doing that. We're accomplishing that goal. You know, this report uses efficiency and effectiveness and evidence approach developed by Beacon to compare this impact model. And it's really looking at several key indicators in workforce development to see how effective we are doing our job. And as the county exec mentioned, that we are 91% effective in meeting our outcomes. And what does this mean? This means that county residents that work with AAWDC reach their peak employment 2.7 years faster than individuals who do not utilize our workforce development services. In their lifetime, they make 19% more income in their lifetime than individuals who do not take advantage of workforce development services. Individuals who are on public assistance, we reduce their reliance on public assistance by 42%. And individuals who are receiving unemployment benefits, we reduce their reliance on unemployment benefits by 67% by making sure that they go back to work quicker and stay employed. Again, this means that of our goals that we're trying to reach, we are now reaching 91%. I know my board would like for me to get to 100%, and that is what we're trying to get to and really striving to get there to 100%. And as the county exec says, when we say that we enhance the economic vitality of Anne Arundel County, we're talking about what is that return on investment. You have a lot of people talk about the investment of workforce development dollars, and should federal government and state and local governments invest in workforce development? But when you see that for every dollar that's being invested in workforce development services, $8.90 are being returned in the economy. So when the county exec says making Anne Arundel County the best place for all, that's what workforce development is doing. We're making sure that people are starting, transitioning, and advancing on their career and getting high quality jobs that pay a livable wage, jobs that offer benefits, jobs that have career advancement opportunities. So it is our pleasure to do that work. And Mr. County Exec, thank you for your leadership during these last couple of difficult years and your trust in workforce development. We hope that we've served you proudly, that, starting with the Humanitarian Relief Fund and making sure that we provided additional assistance to county residents who had lost their job and no fault of their own, to you're asking us to help with the whole bus driver shortage. And we've been working with Anne Arundel Community College to train new bus drivers and providing incentives to existing bus drivers. Our second round of hiring incentives will be going out today to bus drivers to make sure that they're making a livable wage and can support their families. So thank you for your confidence in workforce development, and thank you to my board members for your leadership. And Melena Cornell, who is our Vice President of Career Development, she is the one that led this study and helped us to come up with this data that we are presenting today. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kirkland. And we'll get back with questions to you and any of your team in just a minute. I do want to acknowledge that Melena, who you just referenced, his family is in the second largest city of Ukraine as we speak, under attack, the city of Kharkiv. And Melena, we are holding you and your family in the light. So we do have Dr. Kalyana Raman with us, and he'll be able to answer questions as well about the new CDC guidelines on masking and other issues related to the pandemic or anything else. But I want to note that the numbers are still coming down, and we are at a case rate of 8.1. We were at 10.6 last week. Hospitalizations down from 27 to 19 this week. Deaths down from 12 to 9, and percent positivity down from 4.2 to 3.1. So he may have thoughts as well about this transition to this next phase of the pandemic, which is much better for all of us. And then I want to close by a couple things quickly. You've heard about the Land Use Navigator, the new online system at Department of Inspections and Permits. It was launched on Monday. Things went well. 268 users registered in the first day with accounts, 7,000 page views. So we're proud that we're finally moving this county forward to a place where the process can be faster, more transparent, and more effective to get all kinds of permits in our county. And then finally, I just want to note that the St. Patrick's Day Parade will be in Annapolis this Sunday. You can go to visitannapolis.org for information. It's 1 o'clock on Sunday, and we're expecting a big crowd and looking forward to it. So back to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. So we'll open it up for questions. Please put your name and media affiliation in the chat. I'll be calling on folks in that order. For media reps, I did just drop a link to that impact report from Workforce Development into the chat as well for review. All right, John Frenet, Ion Annapolis.
Hi, I guess I'm not sure whether this is for Mr. Murray or the county executive. I wanted to question, or I had a question on the school bus driver bonuses, the retention bonuses and the hiring bonuses. And I know that 4.2 million was authorized back in November, and what just sort of triggered my memory was a letter in the Capitol yesterday from a woman in Crofton who said she hasn't had school bus service for 2 weeks. And I know that there are some schools in Annapolis that have not had it since August, and still there. I mean, I'm looking today, there are still 26 routes that are not served. Has that been effective to get more people in, or is this really just a position issue where people are not, I don't want to drive a bus?
I'll start and say that I believe it has been effective. We were in the 40s earlier, and while we've continued to lose some drivers, we've been hiring more. They have been hiring more than they have been losing. The hiring event that Workforce Development did with the school board was successful in that. We invited in the contractors, so I believe it would be significantly worse had we not done this. I know that the superintendent believes that compensation is important, which is why it's in his budget to improve compensation for these drivers to make this a livable wage profession. And we've actually gotten some letters from drivers who've talked about how it's made it possible for them to stay on the job. But Kirk, you may have more detail.
Thank you, Mr. County Exec. Yes, we've been working very closely with the school bus companies and Anne Arundel Community College in training and getting people their CDL license and then connecting them to the school bus companies. It is a process. People have to go through, get their learners, and then there's hours that they have to be behind the wheel before they can run routes. But, you know, all of the school bus companies are currently hiring, and the goal is to have all the routes covered as soon as possible. But it is a process, but we are making a lot of headways. And then we're going to make sure that we're going to be really recruiting over the summer so that we start the school year off with, you know, hopefully all the routes covered.
Okay, so we do see an end in sight here, and then it's hopefully not going to be transferring over into next school year.
That is our goal. Our goal is to really be aggressive over the summer to get people engaged into becoming school bus drivers, getting them trained so they're ready to go when school starts back in the fall.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Next up, Rachel Pasella, the Capitol.
Hi, yeah, and I have some question also about the bus and a little to do with the budget. I'm not sure if you're ready to talk about that, but Superintendent Arlotto had recommended, I'm not going to say a number because I'm worried I get it wrong, but a number of new buses as part of the fiscal 2023 budget. The board reduced that number a little bit when it was making amendments to the budget. I guess, do you know how many additional bus routes that you think you can fund in the Board of Education budget in this coming year? Do you plan on doing, you know, what the superintendent recommended, what the board recommended, or even more?
I can't say what we're going to be doing. We're certainly going to look at it carefully, but I can say that I have a lot of concern about even next year. You know, we hope that the problem will be solved. But we don't know that it will, regardless of how much people are paid. And the new school start times adds, I'm told, the need for more buses because they're going to have shorter times that they're out there because they don't start as early. And that's going to be an additional challenge on the transportation system of the schools. Dr. Arlotto has talked about that. And so we're not out of the woods yet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Any other questions? Name and media affiliation in the chat. All right, seeing none, we'll wrap up. Thank you again to Workforce Development and the board for joining us today. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks, everybody.